Your ability to communicate is so important that it could be the one thing that's between where you are and where you want to be. Now, I know this is not the general position taken by ourselves, our coaches, mentors, maybe from the experts that you might watch videos on who are telling you what to do. Be more action oriented, to think and grow rich. Well, I'm here to tell you from my personal experience and the experience of those who are much more successful and those that I coach and consult with that the thinking is only part of the equation. So if you think that Think and Grow Rich is all of it, then you missed a big part of the equation, of the book, of the philosophy. A bigger part than thinking is the effective communication of that thought. Now, there are different ways to communicate. Don't get that wrong. It could be in written form, it could be verbal or nonverbal. For some of the greatest communicators, maybe it is in acting or through song, but your ability to effectively communicate with your audience is all of the difference. It's going to make a world of difference between where you are and where you want to be. It's so important, in fact, that that's how God created the universe. It didn't say that God put his hands to work, that God did these things. No, Genesis 1:3 said, God said, let there be light, and there was light. So we go through the entire creation story with God speaking things into existence. That's the very first thing that I want to just remind you of, or maybe enlighten you of, is that we were created in God's image. We are creators. God used words, communication, to speak to the universe, to speak to a formless void, and instantly it responded. So I am just of the belief that the power of communication is divine. Here's an example of that to maybe clearly illustrate it. When has someone not seen you? Maybe it was on the phone, but they heard the words and immediately it evoked a response. Maybe not the favorable response that we expected or desired, but there is power in effective communication. There are power in words. Proverbs 18, 20, and 21 says, a man's stomach shall be satisfied from the fruit of his mouth, from the produce of his lips he shall be filled. Verse 21 says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat of his fruit. Now, we hear it, we know it, we want to get super holy and sanctified, all about that. But here's what I'm just breaking this down for you and I, as believers, especially, that, we have been given this thing. We've been given a great gift to communicate. Are you stewarding that gift? Or are you going to be like in Matthew 25, where God takes away your gift of communication and then give it to someone else? And so a nightmare of mine is for God to take this thing that I have, this gift, this talent and skill, and say, you aren't using it to the maximum potential. Let me give it to someone else. And here's, where I started out this video with the idea of thinking and growing rich. How many brilliant people do you know, or have you seen, or maybe read about, where they had a great idea here? Maybe they had a yearning or a longing in their hearts, but they could not effectively communicate that idea, that dream, that passion to the masses. And we know that oftentimes it is not the smartest, it is not the most intellectual, the one with the bright ideas. Who is it that wins? It's the man or the woman. It's the corporation that can communicate the vision behind, the meaning behind that dream, behind that thing, that product that's going to win. So these are a few tips to help you become a better communicator. First, have something to say. Now, we know that in today's time, there's always people, there are always companies, products that are vying for your time, energy, for your most valuable resource. They want your attention, but they have nothing worth saying. How many times have you done this and had nothing worth saying? And so, one way we want to make sure that we have something good to say, that we have something worth saying, is that we want to prepare, that we want to practice, that we want to go through and maybe take notes, put them down on paper, get some of the jumble out of your head and break it down so that there is something worth us saying. The next thing is we always want to be interested. If you are an interested, not interesting person, you'll find that you have much more stuff that's worth saying. And I'm going to challenge you to be interested in people, in places, be interested in events, be interested in the universe, but most importantly, be interested in this physical experience that we're all having called life. If you will be more interested in life and not your own life, but the life of others, to see how you can solve some of their problems, maybe answer some questions they have, help them overcome some challenges. They will tell you what it is they want and need to hear, and then you'll have something good to say. So after you have something worth saying, you want to make sure that we do what? That we say it well. It's not just good enough to have something good to say. We want to be able to effectively communicate, to articulate, to say it in a word, in a way that holds people's attention so that they want to listen, so they want to lean in, not pull back. We want to be sincere in our conversation. And when I say we, notice Neil is included in this as a student of conversation, a student of communication, student of connecting. I know that as I speak with you, as I share these tips, these tricks, these techniques and skills with you, then I'm always learning. That's why I have a pad full of notes right here. Why is that? Because I want to make sure that I am living out this thing so that as God did in the creation story, when the king, the master, spoke to his servants in Matthew 25, that when I say something, I can actually live it out and that there's conviction there so that I can sincerely communicate with you. Now, this next piece, repetition or practice, is one of my favorite pieces. Practice is going to separate the mediocre many from the elite few. And when I say practice, if you have heard communication before, or if you are a communicator, you've heard Allen Iverson's retort, practice. I'm the franchise player, and we're sitting here talking about practice. Yes, we are. I need you. You need you. Your message, your purpose in life needs you to do what? Practice. Because without practice, you'll never be as good as you can. Something else when it comes to saying it well is to be brief, using brevity as your ally. Say it powerfully, but say it quickly. I'm going to move on. Increase your vocabulary. Having a strong vocabulary is key. Do you have 3 or 4 words to describe one thing? Instead of saying tired, can you say exhausted? Can you have this, or are you able to use words to paint a mental picture so that when someone sees that thing, they think of the mental picture that you've painted? So after we have something good to say, after we say it well, we want to make sure that we are reading our audience, that we're studying who it is that we are speaking with, not to, because we want this thing to be engaging. We want to have a conversation, a dialogue, not a monologue. So are we reading the audience? Are we seeing if their arms are folded or whether or not they are checking their cell phones? Do we see if they're leaning in or if they're making eye contact with someone else or scanning the room? If not, then we are not doing our job of reading our audience. And that's going to lead us lastly to the idea of emotion. So after we have something worth saying, that we say it well, that we read our audience, we want to temper our emotions to the proper amount. There are going to be times when you get excited. Maybe you talk fast and you use a lot of hand gestures and motions. Other times, we're going to have to slow down. Maybe there is a communication issue. Maybe it's cultural. Maybe it's just a show of respect. It could be the environment calls for things to be different. Your audience, if they are older adults, you might have to speak slow but loud. If they are a lot of kids, kindergarten through fifth grade kids, like I get the honor of spending time with every weekend. You've got to be loud and fast. You might have to say some quirky things. That's why you all get the best of me on my Saturdays and Sundays when I've just got finished hanging out with some amazingly wild and creative individuals. So you want to, in your communication, we always want to be conscious of having something powerful and worthwhile saying. We want to make sure we practice so that we can say it well, consider our audience by reading them. And then finally, we want to use the proper amount of energy and emotion. That's a fantastic place to start. If we do those 4 keys, we're going to see more doors open up. We're going to see more opportunities come our way, because effective communication could be the one thing that's keeping you from being where you want, need, and deserve to be. I challenge you in this. Not only do we have an opportunity to use effective communication for the good of ourselves and those that we love and care about, we also have a responsibility. So I would love for you to let me know which of the 4 is your greatest challenge and which is your greatest ally. Is it going to be having something to say, saying it well, reading your audience, or tempering your emotion and energy? Drop that in the comment section. Be sure to like, subscribe to this channel, share this channel with someone that you believe is going to benefit as we take our journey to being world renowned. As I always leave you, I leave you right now. Remember that I love you, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And until the next time I see you or you see me, don't be average, be world renowned. Peace.